Hi, everybody. Welcome back to part 2 of Hot Mic with Bill Whittle. I'm Bill Whittle, and we are recording this. We're not recording this, rather. Excuse me. We're saying live from California because just behind the hill is Hollywood, and we're talking about the thin-skinned nature of the left and their inability to take a joke, their inability to take any kind of mockery at all. We talked about the CNN thing and so on. We've got our guest, Evan Sayet, who's a stand-up comedian, is one of the very few right-wing stand-up comedians. He understands the liberal mindset very well. His book, The Kindergarten of Eden, How the Modern Liberal Thinks, is required reading if you really want to know what's going on out there with the people that seem to be opposing us left and right. So, Evan, here's what I want to go to with you now. It's certainly true for most of the people in show business, and I think it's probably true also for most of the people in the media. What about this idea of the role that these people play in their own minds, the characters that they play? The sort of classic story about this is some, bubble-headed actor sitting there with a copy of War and Peace in a coffee shop and wearing glasses, and the glasses don't have any prescription in them, right? It's this image of themselves as extremely intelligent people, very socially concerned people, very moral people. These movie stars make so many buckets of money that you want to talk about income inequality. There's nothing more income inequality than a movie star and an extra on a movie set. So they have to have this image of themselves as these decent, kind, intelligent, highly educated people, and the reporters have to be the defenders of the republic, and they're absolutely incorruptible. And when you point out to them that they're not very bright, that they're not very good, as a matter of fact, they're some of the worst people in the world, and as far as the reporter goes, incorruptible, unbiased, no. When you basically prick that balloon of their self-esteem and their self-image, they fall to pieces, I think.
Right, and part of what's required for them is not only to think of themselves as great, but by comparison, anybody who disagrees with them is not just wrong, but the stupidest people who have ever lived or the evilest people who have ever lived. It is, I hesitate to say impossible only because you may find one, but to find an argument that the leftists make where they respect any alternative opinion as having any intellectual or moral basis. To disagree with them, you do so because you're a bigot, you do so because you're stupid, you do so because you're greedy. So there can be not even a challenge to them. And so when that kind of disrespect redounds back to them, they don't know how to cope with it. It is such a, what do they call it, cognitive dissonance to them. It makes no sense to them. How do we not recognize, and by the way, how do we not recognize their superiority by this one simple fact? If a soldier were as smart as Sean Penn, why would he be a soldier? Why wouldn't he just pretend to be a soldier and not risk anything, make a fortune? If the factory worker were as smart as Bruce Springsteen, why would he work in a factory? Why wouldn't he just sing a two-minute little ditty about what he thinks it might feel like to work in a factory? If a fireman or a cop is really smart, well, then he'd be a journalist and just do a story on firemen and police officers. So the left believes that the elite believe that they are, by definition, smart, and everybody else is not just stupid. We're stupid losers. And because we're stupid losers, right, we're bitter. And because we're bitter, we cling to our bigotries.
What else could it be? If you've got a job, there's something wrong with you. You've pointed out in your book and also in your stand-up act, you point out the fact that, as you just said, the liberals have actual real contempt for most working people, despite what they say. But you say that they have rhetorical intelligence, and this is the thing I think I want to close on today. They are very, very good at rhetoric. I did a video called Iconography right after Obama was elected, and I pointed out just how beautiful the Democratic stage set was. Thank you. It's kind. And how good their use of graphics is, and how good their lighting is, how good their set design is, and so on, and how terrible ours are. They are in a bit of a panic now that we are fighting back using rhetoric and effective rhetoric. And I don't know if you've seen the NRA's Dana Lash and her Freedom's Safest Place video, but she basically comes out and says, listen, we're tired of your violence, we're tired of your aggression, we're tired of all of this stuff, shows pictures of all these left-wingers rioting, and they are in an absolute meltdown over it, saying she's calling for civil war and the murder of liberals. Actually, the only people that are calling for the murder of political opponents are guys with, a list of Republicans that they want to kill that day. So do you get a sense that the left is a little bit in a state rather of shock and awe that the conservative side of the country is fighting back with the tools that they traditionally have had exclusivity of, and that Donald Trump is probably the most effective counterpuncher?
Imagine having been free to rape and pillage and ransack, and nobody has ever stepped up against you. And suddenly, after literally 50 years, starting with things like putting the guns to the head of university presidents, going up through Bill Ayers and the Weather Underground, and all of a sudden finding, hey, these people are fighting back. I think they're absolutely stunned, and they don't know how to deal with it. And here's the good news, Bill. Good people have always been slow to the fight. Right? We don't want to fight. We are actually the liberals, lowercase l, and believe live and let live. We have other things to do with our lives than fight. We want to take care of our families. We go to church. We have the Boy Scouts. And so we were slow to World War I. And we were slow to World War II. We were slow to the Cold War when the Soviets got Sputnik up first, and we were late to the Culture War. But in every single case, once we entered the battle, we fought all out and we won. We won World War I. Yep. We won World War II. We won the Cold War. We're going to win the Culture War, and I think that Donald Trump is the first wartime president. If that war is the culture war.
No, that's really brilliant, Evan. During the Civil War, the Southerners were so hot-headed, and the Northerners said, the Northern people are like a gigantic boiler filled with cold water. It takes a very long time for it to get up ahead of steam, but once it does, it becomes unstoppable. Evan, it's so good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. It's evansayet.com, right?
It is. And it's the Kindergarten of Eden, how the modern liberal thinks.
Kindergarten of Eden. It is absolutely required reading if you want to understand this culture war that we're in. Evan, great to see you, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you again soon. That'll do it for this edition of Hot Mic. It's kind of fun to realize that we are, in fact, in a position where we can shoot back and we finally get to go on the offensive. We've been talking about doing this for a long time, and it's great to be a part of it. We will see you back again on Monday right here on NRATV.